Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session, Relocating and Studying in Dublin, in Ireland. Why don't we give our participants at the audience a couple of minutes to make sure that everybody's screens are working, audio is working, and everybody is logged in properly and correctly. Okay, so I can see there's a number of students joining us, so that's fantastic. We're really, really delighted to see you, everyone here. Let's give it another minute and then we can kick off. And just to say that this session is being recorded. So anybody watching it on demand later on will be able to tune in, stop it, take take screenshots, or else use the QR codes that we have later in the slide. So don't worry if there's something that you feel you didn't catch or you would like repeated, because you will be able to watch this video on demand. Okay, so let's give it another couple of seconds and then we can kick off. Okay, let's maybe kick off. So welcome everyone. This is a session organized by the UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School. And the topic today of this session is relocating and studying in Dublin in Ireland in UCD. So let me start and introduce my lovely panelist, Hima. Hi Hima, how are you?
Hi Yola, how are you?
Oh, you're
I'm
so
doing good.
wonderful to join me. Go on, talk about yourself, introduce yourself, please.
Good afternoon, guys, from the Dublin time right now we are at. I am from India. I shifted to Dublin in September 2025. I am enrolled in Masters in Strategic Management in the September intake. I have 3 years qualification experience. I am also a chartered accountant, and I'm here in Dublin from last 8 months, and I'm pretty much enjoying the whole weather and the whole, the uh, Dublin city and the vibe and the college and the classes. Thank you so much, Yola, for having me here today.
Amazing, because I know how busy you are. I mean, there's so many exams, assignments, projects due in now. So you're so incredible to give us the half an hour of your time. I have to say, I'm very, very grateful. Thank you. So just to say, my name is Iola Mar, and in my role here in the Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School, specifically looking after the students here on Blackrock campus. So in my role, I make sure that our students, all students who are coming to us from all over the world, that everybody is happy, settles well, has all the information, and I'm basically here to support international students, which is an amazing job. I get to work with loads of lovely people. We are a very global university. I would even dare to say we're not an Irish university, a global university. We have over 65 different nationalities here on campus, and probably around 65 plus percent of our students are non-domestics. So almost 70% of our students are international. How fantastic. So it's really diverse, it's really global, it's really vibrant, and it's really green as well because we're in Ireland. So let's kick off and talk about relocation to Ireland. Okay, so I've put together kind of three different themes to this session today. So first one is kind of talking about the timelines of relocating and moving and studying here in Ireland. The second one is logistics, so what needs to be done, the most important topics, and then the very practical little tips that Hima might share with us. And afterwards, we go back to this slide. I'll have steps in the journey as well. So there's plenty of information for you to sort of absorb and ensure that you have in order to plan. So let's kick off, Hima. When to start preparing and what to prepare in when. So this is your journey. We haven't rehearsed it, so it's literally you talking about your experiences and whatever you think is relevant for people watching this webinar around the spring 2026.
Anyone who is starting off college in September right now is the peak period about, finding your accommodations, booking your flights, and applying for your visas. Depending on every country, the visa requirements are separate, so we might not talk about it right now today. But I would suggest that you would see what requirements your country has and try starting managing it and planning for it well in advance when it,
Can I say that you can start applying
yeah,
for visa around very
yeah,
soon? That
soon, yeah.
if I can exactly. So normally standard
Um,
timelines is approximately 3 to 4 months
3 months.
before you come. So you can't apply 6 months before arrival in Ireland, but 3 to 4 months is absolutely ideal. And I will have a QR code to a website, our UCD website, where you can find all immigration, all visa information. Back over to you, Hema. Thank you.
So apart from like the visa things, for the other practical things which we need to start looking for is, first of all, everyone knows that accommodation is a bit difficult in Ireland, in Dublin specifically, but it's not as impossible, I could say. There are campus accommodations and off-campus accommodations which are also provided by the college. There is help and support in relation to both of these accommodation you want to arrange for. If you want for online campus accommodation, you can apply in the campus website of the college, whereas in off campus, UCD has its accommodation pad, which will give you particular places where you can go and apply for your accommodation. Apart from that, there are non-official ways of finding accommodations. I would say there are WhatsApp groups, there are Facebook groups, and everything where people keep on posting. I would suggest that you should start looking for accommodation at least 1 month or 1 month and a half back before you are coming over here, because it's important for you guys to have your accommodation sorted before you come, because finding an accommodation while you are here, it is doable, but it will leave you stress free if you start looking for it way before in advance. What I would suggest is, do not get into scams. There are a lot of people who might scam. Do not give anyone any advance before, if some friend of yours who's already in Dublin has seen the place, and then only transfer any sort of deposits or rent to anyone before you get to see the place. You need to see the place, make sure that the people are, yeah,
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 yeah, yeah. No, can I just add? It's really important. I want to
yeah.
stress it. Our advice, UCD advice, is do not transfer any money until you actually have seen the residence, the house, the apartment, because there are scams out there, and we really don't want students upset or scammed or cheated out. So just be very, very careful. So what we normally say is, yeah, you can apply for kind of student accommodation, whether it's on campus or off
Mm.
campus, because there are residences specifically built for students that are like run for profit by external organizations. They're based in the city center, and you can apply for them now or anytime. So these would be the places where a lot of students would go. But if you're looking for like an apartment or a house, it could be slightly tricky, because we really wouldn't recommend that you pay your deposit and you don't know who you're talking to. So it's very,
True.
very, you have to be very, very careful. So normally advice that students give is kind of prepare for stages. So maybe book like a more temporary accommodation. If you want to live off campus in apartment or house, maybe arrive on a kind of and be expect that the first maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks you live in a more temporary accommodation while looking for long term, because you have to come and actually basically visit the places. So I
Correct.
think
Yeah.
cost wise, it would be a little more expensive to pay for short term, and then you can kind of have a contract
Shift
for
over.
longer, for 6 months or a year, etc., etc. Back over to you, Hima, again.
So, as Yola mentioned and stressed about that, how you can get scammed. So, we would really suggest that please go through things. Even I had looked for a temporary accommodation first, and then my temporary converted into a permanent one. But I had looked first for a temporary one. Apart from that, even if you are finding a permanent, in case if you find something nice which is reliable and everything, please check that how much time does it take for you to reach from your accommodation to your college, because there will be at least classes 3 days a week and you would have to attend for at least, like, there is, you need to attend your classes, and the traveling time, if it's too much, it will get too burdensome for you guys to travel a lot. Even though in Google Maps it shows the transport in Ireland is a bit tricky and difficult for people to adapt to. So I would suggest that if it is easier for you guys to take an accommodation which is near to college, it will be easier for you guys. Even at least at the start, you need to find something closer to college till the time you try and understand and navigate how does transport in Dublin specifically works like. And
That's a
I would
very good
say,
advice.
yeah,
Yeah, I totally agree. And what I would always say to students, try to have one means of transport. So rather than going, I'm going to take a bus and then I'm going to take a tram and I'm going to take another bus, the advice would be ideally, an ideal scenario, try to have one means of transport, like one bus,
one
one
bus, yeah,
train, the dart train, for example. But that's probably very detailed. We might need to kind of
yeah.
maybe look at a maybe high level advice. But yes, that's the high level advice is plan early, don't pay any money without seeing the accommodation, really.
True. So that's the accommodation thing. Then apart from like packing and everything, I would suggest don't take wind like because when you'll be coming over here, the summer will be on the verge of its ending. In October, the weather can start getting a bit harsh. So what I could say is that in the period of August and September, the weather is still like getting too cold. It is still nice in Dublin. So you could get your winter coats, but do not get many winter coats because over here you have amazing shops where you can get winter clothes at reasonable prices. You can get either one or two coats for yourself, and later on you can go and buy over here. I would suggest, and also please check the your like every sort of layover and the Dublin airport guidelines that what things are allowed are not allowed to take in the country. There are a lot of organic things. For example, people want to get their spices and get their things, and there are specific things which are not allowed in the transit airport or in the destination airport. Please make sure that you do not want to get into any trouble when it comes to getting things into the what do we say to the country. There are certain rules and regulations. Please be informed about that. And I would also suggest that take flights. This is one of the things which I had done. Like basically in the layover, make sure that you have at least 2 hour layovers when you're coming from countries like from Asia. You might have to change two flights. Make sure that like whenever you're booking your flights, the layovers are in a certain way that you are able to catch a second flight. You should not be missing your second flight, and especially when you have a layover in Istanbul and seeing what is the situation right now, I would suggest
So
you
what's the
could
layover, did you say? How long is the
uh,
layover? I
so
missed that.
layover should be at least for 2 hours because I had a
Two
layover
hours.
which was
Okay,
one
minimum
hour
2 hours is
20
your
minutes,
advice.
and I had to run through the airport in
Oh
order to catch
no.
my flight to Dublin, and I was lucky enough to get. But there are people who had basically missed their flights.
Yeah,
And also
yeah.
make sure you have your travel insurance in place. You might There is a risk of losing your baggage. Please make sure that you have your travel insurance in place before you book your flights. You even have to pay extra because this is a one time cost when you're coming over here. Make sure you have your tickets sorted, flights sorted in a way that it gives you the utmost comfort, because a lot of times the travel time can be up to 12 hours also.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so these are some of the tips you need to when you're coming, and if you're coming from a bit of hotter country like me, I'm coming from India. You need to buy thermal wear and everything, but not many, but some of the thermal wear, so you know that it will not be difficult for you to adapt to the cold, because it's still warmer as compared in Dublin, but it's still colder when if you're coming from any Asian
Yes.
country where the weather is terrible. It's too hot. When you land in August, like it should be around I think from 12 to 15 degrees. That would be the ideal weather of Dublin. So make sure that if you are not used to that weather, you have appropriate clothing. You do not want to get sick. A lot of people got sick over here.
That's
Make
very
sure
true.
Yeah, and make sure your medical insurance is properly covered. You have a proper medical. Anyway, the visa will require you to get a specific amount of sum assured over here. So you need to make sure your medical is covered. You need to get the medicine sorted. Make sure you do all your reports from your country. Make sure, because every time you come over here, you do not want to get your test done. So you can show your report to GP over here, and if there are any underlying diseases, the GP will be able to access your medical information and everything.
That
So
is so fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
sorry.
I had issues like this. So get all your
Yes.
reports done. Make sure for all the girls, please make sure that please schedule your visit to your gynac, because over here the wait times are very longer. Make sure any underlying disease, you have your medicines, you have your
Yeah,
sort
so
of,
basically prepare
yeah,
exactly for, yeah, because you're
yeah,
moving to a new
prepared.
country. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You need to kind of plan ahead. Absolutely. And is there anything that you kind of wish you had done that you didn't do preparing, before arrival, sort of, either this time and maybe
Uh,
closer to the summer? Is there anything that you sort of wish, God, I wish I'd done it. I wish I'd known. Is there anything that, or are
I,
you
I
super prepared?
I was super prepared, but the only thing which I got, like there were very small things which, were a problem when I landed over here. For example, like, from getting my transport sorted from the airport to the place I wanted to go to. There are airport buses and shuttles over here, which I was super scared that how am I supposed to, carry three luggage on myself and how to get it done. And also, do not order your like when you come over here, just get a Tesco SIM card or any sort of mobile. You can get a SIM card. Do not order it online over here. Okay.
No, you can get it at the airport actually. I was at the
Yeah, you
airport
can get it to
recently and
airport.
I
Yeah.
I I tried to look for a SIM card. I kind of pretended I was a student and they told me you arrive, you go
Yeah.
through that kind of a link corridor out to the second building and
Mm.
downstairs they told me in the shop you can buy a local SIM card which would be quite cheap and it'd be very useful to have it from the moment you arrive. Or also a Leap card, LEAP,
Yeah.
Leap. It's a
The
travel card. It's probably even more important if you're taking public
correct.
transport. However, my
Yeah.
advice, I suppose, for anybody coming from, I suppose, from if you come from quite
Mm.
far, you are sort of, you've traveled for many, many hours, the most reliable and easiest transport would be taking a taxi. Taxi to from the airport to Blackrock
To.
specifically would be approximately €50, maybe 60 at night.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Make sure you kind of you go through the city center. You don't go through the M50, which is the motorway. Ask the taxi driver to go through the city center because that's a cheaper fee. But it's expensive. But I mean, you save yourself so much hassle. It's a new country. It could be raining. You don't want to be hauling your massive luggage from a bus stop. So
Yeah.
that's the one expense that I would just personally I would not spare because it's the amount of stress and hassle and worry that it takes away from you is actually probably worth it in my opinion. Okay, and actually we will have many more webinars. We'll have sessions May, June, July, August about relocation to Ireland. We'll have the format of it will be Q&A. So I'm going to ask the new students coming in, ask questions in advance. So you send me your questions. I tidy them under different headings and I get a pool of students, like the likes of Hima and her friends and colleagues, to answer the questions for you live. Okay, so and I'm finalizing handbook for international students. And again, there'll be tons of information. So I guess this could be more of a high level advice. How much time do we have? We don't have a huge amount of time. Let me
Yeah.
just have a look. So just quickly, steps in your journey now. So we're talking about April 2026. So this sort of checklist sits in the Handbook for International Students, which will be released in 2 weeks' time, and it will come to you by email from the school office. I've highlighted in blue there's 4 steps that are applicable up till now. So first of all, we want you to ensure that you submit any outstanding documents that you have for application and also accept your UCD offer. Okay, that's it. If you have questions about your application, you can email the admissions team. I'll give you a QR code to where to go to contact them. Step number 2, prepare your finances and pay your tuition fees or part of the tuition fee, whatever is required for your visa. Okay, that's kind of simple. The third one is apply for UCD on-campus accommodation. Again, there's a QR code on the next slide where it tells you exactly how to do it. And the way it works is you express interest in living on campus. This is within the SysWeb portal, and it's a random allocation. So there isn't a waiting list. It's literally if there is a room, there's a random system where it picks a student and sends an offer by email. And I think you have a couple of weeks to accept it. You have to pay a deposit to accept it. And the last step, number 4 here, is apply for visa to Ireland. Again, this is only if you require a visa. Not everybody requires a visa. If you are a holder of a non-EU passport, you definitely need to apply for what's called an Irish Residence Permit, IRP. So you get an IRP card after you arrive, but we'll talk about it. There'll be loads of information about it, and there's actually a QR code on the next slide where you can scan it and you can read all about immigration. But really taking a step back, first is applying for a visa to Ireland. You check if you need a visa to come to Ireland, and if you do, you need to be applying around now. Okay. So here's the QR codes for four different websites. These are all UCD websites. The first one is application queries. If you have any queries about your application, please email the admissions team. You can scan the QR code. Then I have a link to the immigration and visa webpage. Again, it's a UCD webpage with advice for students on the steps and the processes and what documents are required. It's really informative. Anybody that I refer to this website, people don't come back to me with further questions. So clearly it is exhaustive and it's helpful. And then the last two QRs on the right-hand side of the slide are about accommodation. The one on the left is the on-campus accommodation. So it takes you to our portal, and the portal explains how to apply, and you basically express interest on the room on campus in the SysWeb. SysWeb is the platform where your profile in UCD sits. And the last one is the UCD off-campus accommodation. Hima has mentioned we the university is running what's called an off-campus accommodation search engine. So we look after a database of off-campus places, houses and apartments. So basically landlords come to us and they post accommodation if they're looking for specifically for students. So that's a really good resource as well. So I think what we do is we have another probably 8 minutes to see whether there's any questions from the audience. I'm going to go back to the previous slide. So if you guys, our lovely audience, if you haven't scanned or linked up, or if you still want to use this resource, go ahead. I'll leave it on the screen for a few minutes. And let's just see. There's a colleague of mine, Carol, who has been kindly helping out and looking at the Q&A. Are there any questions, Carol? Has anybody submitted any questions?
Hi, no questions at all. Thank you so much, Hema, for your wonderful insights and valuable tips for our students, and to Yola as well. No questions have come in so
No
far.
questions so far. I didn't mention at the start that there is the functionality is up there. So if anybody wants to submit a question now, what we could do is have a quick chat and maybe we can go and review with Hema. Is there any other tips that you think that we might have not mentioned? Because it's a very short session today. And may I actually mention that something came to my mind in terms of visa application. So if you require a visa to come to Ireland, entry visa to Ireland, when you're applying for a visa, my recommendation is apply for what's called a multi-entry visa. So you can get a single entry visa or multi-entry visa. The multi-entry visa is slightly more expensive. It's not a lot, it's very little money, but in case you happen to have to leave Ireland and you don't have your Irish residence permit, you want to be able to leave and come back. Things happen in life. You decide there's an emergency or you need to travel or you want to travel. And if you enter the country on a single entry visa, you will need your Irish residence permit to re-enter it. And it might take a few months for you to get the residence permit. So my advice to get a multi-entry visa to Ireland if you need a visa. So that's kind of something that I actually thought about during our chat.
Mm.
Hema, is there anything else that you
There's a
think might be
there's
kind
a
of
couple of
practical?
there's a couple of questions coming in now, Yola.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is, what is the last date to apply for the MSc in Business Analytics? So, working from admissions, we receive thousands of applications for all our majors for students all around the world, and we have rolling deadlines. So, my advice is, submit your online application. There's a huge demand for the MSc in Business Analytics. And actually, we have the webinar at 2 o'clock today where the academic director for the MSc in Business Analytics will attend. So I will also be on this session, so I will be able to talk to you about this later. The next question is the off-campus accommodation available only during the course period, or could it be extended?
The off campus or on campus? Does it say
Off-campus.
off? Sorry?
It said
Off-campus,
off
Yola.
campus, yeah.
Well, you see, off campus depends because
It
there's so
Okay.
many
depends, yeah.
different suppliers. It could be a private landlord, or it could be, as I mentioned, like a student, a custom student accommodation hall of residences for students
Mm,
only. These tend to be kind of that they work around the term times more or less. But I'm
mm,
not sure, you have to check because in some of them, if you sign a contract for a year, you can only leave if you find somebody else to take the room from you. So you basically, it's your
mm,
job to make sure somebody takes over your contract. So that's in
mm.
some places, not all places.
Yeah.
And then for the private residences like apartments, it depends on the landlord. Some of them might be looking for short-term let. Most of them would be looking for long-term let.
Mm,
And I suppose my tip, and we still do have a couple of minutes, is if you are going into a scenario where there is a house, apartment, and you're sharing house, please ensure that you have a contract. I have seen so many students who are going into a subletting scenario where their friend says, "Hey, we have a room, but we are on the lease, we're on the contract. We can't add you to the contract, and you can just take the room, pay us." And I mean, it's just a common practice. However, have seen students in the past going into situations where, they had to leave, they couldn't leave, they were losing their deposit. Like, it can get a little bit messy. So my advice would be make sure that you actually are sorted in terms of some kind of a written contract to cover you. It's very detailed
Um,
information. I think it's a little bit early to talk about it just yet.
So I would like to add that there are a lot of like university living, AMBO student living, and everything, which are basically, so there are student accommodation and there are agencies which handle all these accommodations. Make sure that a lot of times these agencies are a bit of a scam. So make sure that you do not pay any reference fees to these people, because a lot of times I've seen people from my own course getting scammed by these agencies, and they're not getting proper
mm.
accommodation. So if you want to get a student accommodation, I would suggest directly contact the student accommodation and not these agencies, because a lot of times you can run into some sort of scam by the agencies itself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
Yeah,
are these agencies based in Ireland or based in your home country? What was your
it's
experience?
it was from my home country, but I'm not sure if they are
Okay.
based in Ireland. But
Okay.
basically, it's in my
Okay.
home country. But there might be a lot of agencies
Okay.
which are,
Okay.
Yeah.
charging more.
I
Yeah.
okay, I haven't heard about that scenario, so there you go. So I hope this conversation didn't sound like we're scaring anyone, but we're just trying to cover all the really important and urgent and basic facts. But the rest, we haven't really talked about the weather. How are you doing with the rain, Hima? It was
So
a
the rain,
very rainy winter, in fairness. Okay,
yeah.
I think the wettest winter probably ever on record.
So it started like it didn't end till the February, I think February or March. There were around 60 days of continuously raining, but now the weather is getting better. The summer in the island is beautiful over here. You would love. There are a lot of places to visit. Please go out on the weekends. Go for a walk. It could be a bit,
Yeah,
do not stay at home. Go for a walk. It's
yeah.
beautiful out here in
Yeah, get
Dublin.
yourself
It's a
absolutely and
beautiful
make
city.
friends. And
Yeah.
how do you find kind of Irish culture, like being in Ireland or having lived in Ireland, because you've lived in Ireland for a good few months now at this stage. How are you finding it? Like, what's the vibe? How are you feeling? Do you feel welcome?
I do feel really welcome, really. Uh, yeah, like it's a beautiful city and people are very nice. People are very welcoming. I mean, Yola and Carol, they were so nice to me at the time I've
Oh,
come,
thank
and
you.
I think celebrated festivals with them. It was beautiful over here. I think there's someone who's asking about the average cost of living over here for the chat. So for anyone who depends upon which part of the city you're staying, but I would say somewhere around, like if you want to include all your rent, expenses, amenities, it wouldn't be more than 1,500 euros a month, but that is on a very maximum side. I mean, the maximum it could go to around 1,300 to 1,500. It won't
It's
go more
really
than that.
hard to say, guys. Exactly. It's just such a varied, depends where you live and
Yeah, where you
what's your
live.
living
Yeah.
arrangement. And can I ask you one more question about extracurricular activities? Have you done any
Yeah.
of the GLP? So GLP is the Global
Yeah.
Leadership Program,
Mm.
which is the co-curricular activities. So it's like under three different kind of umbrellas. Have you done anything?
Yes, I have participated in the GLP. There were a lot of guest speakers which help you with your leadership, how to manage stress, time, organization. It was very good. Even recently, I participated in the case competition, and my team and I also won the case competition this year. So
Congratulations.
thank you so
Amazing.
much. And that was a very good exposure because we learned how to do the consulting team in a very tight deadline. And there are many other things which are there in the GLP and extra curriculum. There are entrepreneurship drives, there are advertisement trivias, there are a lot, like for every course, there's something or the other for you to gain that experience out of the classroom. It is very nice over here. You will always have a lot of things to do in the campus
It's
and the
very
GLP.
important, yeah, that you have your classes, you have your assignments, your projects, but there's so much more that you can do. And that's the part where you have to lead it and you have to take ownership. But the dividends and the payback is massive because you will be looking for jobs, you can add it to your CV, there's something you can talk about the interview, and also the experience. That's how you meet people, isn't it? It's through
Yeah,
engaging, through having fun, through events, through working really hard as well. So it's not just all fun, it's hard work as well. But
hard
I
work.
mean, it's
Truly.
the
Yeah,
amazing outcome. Congratulations about it was a huge competition. It was like we were
yeah.
all, very excited about it. So well done to you and the whole team. It's not just you,
Thank you
isn't
so
it?
much.
How
Yeah, it's
many
the
of
whole
you? Was
team.
it four or five of you in the
Yeah,
team?
four of us. Yeah.
There you go. Amazing. Okay. Carol, is there another question? I think we're running out of time, so we should probably
Yeah, no, I
any
think that's it now. So I've just
brilliant.
posted your email address in the chat function and also smurfit.admissions, the general admissions query or
Brilliant.
email address. And I'll put my email address in there as well if anyone wants to
Brilliant.
reach
Thank you
out
so
to me
much, Carol. So,
directly.
Carol, you're part of the admissions team, and my
Yeah.
email address is jola.meagher@ucd.ie. And anybody has questions about relocation to Ireland, but we'll have plenty of sessions, loads of drop-ins, and you will definitely get all the information with in more detail than today. Today is kind of a higher level. So
Yeah.
I think what
Also,
we'll do is we're gonna close
just one
off.
other thing, Yola.
Yeah.
There's a
Hmm.
session at 4:15, a general information session where my colleague Laura will be hosting the panelists, and I will be there as
Amazing.
well. And they will be covering things like the Global Leadership Development course and the application process and lots of other beneficial information if anyone wants to join us later. Okay?
Oh, amazing. You're a busy woman, Carol. You're all the sessions. Yeah,
Likewise,
fantastic.
we're
Yeah.
all very
Thank you
busy.
so much. And thank you,
Thank you.
Hema, for your time and for
Thank
your
you,
Thank you,
amazing,
Yola.
Hema.
Thank you,
yeah,
Karen. Thank you,
Thank you
Orla.
so
fantastic.
much.
And
Thank
thank
you
you
very
for our
much.
audience to joining us. And we hope to
Thank you.
see you in Smurfit here on our beautiful campus sometimes end of August. Okay?
Thank
Take
Okay.
care.
you. Bye
Bye.
Thank
bye.
you. See you,
Bye
everyone.
bye.
Bye
Bye
Bye bye,
bye.
bye.
Hema.